Hello, good people, this is Dyliard speaking, the CEO of the Open Wardrobe Gang, and welcome to another episode of our blind playthrough of Mass Effect 3. In the very last episode we had a very cool one, the one in which we were dealing with the return of, like, the Rachni, and as I was already saying, it is not, the fact that the Rachni were returning. I was absolutely expecting that, but rather the fact, or the manner in which they were returning, once again being controlled, this time by the Reaper forces, yeah. And you guys actually let me know that, whatever was happening with Grant in the very last episode, that wasn't necessarily a fake out. If I had not made our lovely Krogan loyal in Mass Effect 2, he would have died in the very last episode, so I'm patting myself on the back for, getting it done when the time was right. Today we are doing something slightly different, that is, we'll be, once again jumping into the sweet Mass Effect lore with the Codex, the War Table, and who knows what else. At this point I think we've, farmed a lot of entries, so I, cannot wait to dig into them. Let's go. Alright, let's see what we have over here. The journal blinking rather heavily. We are not dealing with the mission summary today. Let's see the codex. Yes. A lot of blinkage. And by a lot, I mean, 5 categories in, like, the general section. Let's see what we can look into. Known associates.
Admiral Stephen Hackett is a decorated officer in the system's
Hackett, we know about him already. ED, Garrus Valkyrian.
In the battle for the Citadel,
yeah, let's start with them, I guess.
The Enhanced Defense Intelligence, or ED, serves as an information source and cyber warfare defense system on the rebuilt Normandy SR-2. The ship's crew can access ED at any terminal or through radio contact.
Very useful.
During an attack from a collector vessel, pilot Jeff Joker Moreau gave ED full access to the Normandy systems, allowing the ship to escape.
We do remember.
She retains the control that Moreau gave her. She is usually content to advise the organic crew members who fly and maintain the ship.
Very interesting. Once again, it's like a reminder for those of the player base who never played a Mass Effect 2. Kind of a retelling of events. I was hoping for a little bit more. Maybe there is a possibility of these entries updating later down the line and providing us with a little bit more, based on how the game will be panning out.
Garrus Valkyrian is a noted Turian sharpshooter and combat engineer.
Very noted.
He was born on Palaven and became a Citadel security officer like his father, but left the Force when superiors shut down his investigation into the rogue Spectre Saren Arterius. Valkyrian eventually discovered that Saren had been indoctrinated by the Reaper known as Sovereign. Valkyrian eventually found his way to the criminal haven of Omega and assumed the name Archangel. There, he and a small group of operatives worked to disrupt the settlement's powerful mercenary groups until Shepard recruited him. The Turian narrowly survived the Second Normandy's attack on the Collectors. More recently, Valkyrian has become the head of a Turian task force focused on preparing for the Reaper invasion.
Yeah, in this instance, all 3 games are kind of mentioned. Not much about Game 1 and his involvement in stopping Saren. Nothing about his family also. Kind of a bummer, but this is what it is. Mordin, lovely. It's like known associates is like, the greatest hits, basically. All of our beloved, best known characters, right? With Liara and others being possible squad mates or ex-squad mates, important notable personnel such as Anderson and so on and so forth, or just other people working on board of Normandy, like Joker or Chakwas, huh?
Dr. Morden Solus is a master geneticist and former operative for the Solarian Special Tasks Group.
Very smart.
Dr. Solus is well known for his work in perpetuating the genophage, a biological weapon that almost completely sterilized the Krogan species. He eventually left the STG to open a clinic on Omega, where his combat skills kept the clinic safe and operational amid Omega's lawless society.
Very
In
altruistic.
2185, Commander Shepard recruited Dr. Solus to research the Collectors and the Reapers. He was a member of the Normandy crew that traveled beyond the Omega-4 relay to attack the Collectors. He survived the mission, but his current whereabouts are unknown.
Okay, all right, a little bit unupdated regarding Morden. What do you mean whereabouts are unknown? I mean, yeah, he was on the Solarian homeworld, but now we know. I do wonder when we got this codex entry, right? Because Morden's involvement in that mission was like a surprise, right? So he probably was not mentioned prior to that, but where he was eventually mentioned, we should have already known where he is. A weird way of phrasing this.
Miranda Lawson is a high-ranking former Cerberus operative and a human biotic. Lawson headed Project Lazarus, the Cerberus operation that brought Commander Shepard back from the brink of death after the first Normandy was destroyed.
Brink
Lawson
of death.
is herself an example of the achievements possible through genetic engineering. She was created in 2150 through manipulation of her father's DNA. Her entire physical and mental composition was deliberately engineered, including a longer lifespan and a superior immune system.
Build different.
Lawson accompanied Commander Shepard on the maiden voyage of the Normandy SR-2 and was part of the crew responsible for the defeat of the Collectors. She has since left Cerberus. Her current whereabouts are unknown.
Very interesting. First of all, brink of death. I'm pretty sure we died. We fucking entered the atmosphere with, you know, having nothing around us but our space suit, and that wasn't enough to, you know, deal with that situation. She was created in 2150. That's interesting. Let me go back to Solus.
Dr. Morden Solus is a master geneticist and former operative.
Yeah, and in 2185, Shepard recruited him, you know, in the fight against the Collectors. So, I never knew Miranda is 35. But I guess they are dropping this information that she has a longer lifespan. I always thought about, you know, most of the people on board of Normandy being of similar age. I don't know why I was talking about or over like the narrator. Yeah, I also always thought about, you know, all of like the potential squad mates as, you know, people of similar age, probably in their late 20s, not necessarily in mid-30s regarding Miranda, but that might be due to her not looking like she is in her mid-30s because her aging is slowed down. I do wonder how old Shepard is actually. It probably was dropped somewhere along the way and I'm totally misremembering, missing that pivotal information. What do we have over here? Planets and locations. Any expectations regarding this category? I don't know. We've visited so many. Sometimes, like, the game just throws so many important pieces of information at you, or rather interesting ones, and then in the codex, just one of them appears. One of, like, the dozen interesting pieces.
The John Grissom Academy, founded in 2176, is the Alliance's premier school for human biotics. The institution is housed in a space station in orbit over the human colony of Elysium. Its main program, the Ascension Project, is designed both to train and monitor young biotics, as well as help them integrate into society after graduation. Unlike the project's previous incarnation, Biotic Acclimation and Temperance Training, or BAT, the training is not exclusively military in nature. The Academy also employs scientific personnel, including Dr. Kaylee Sanders, to develop synthetic intelligence systems and biotic amplifiers like the new L4 implants.
Very interesting that they are name dropping the BAAT. It could be an interesting, plot point or like a talking point if, Kaiden was also involved in this, but they had, other plans for him in the third game. Namely being like a candidate for a Spectre, right? And even, the possibility of him not being in the third game whatsoever. So I guess, like, Jack got the part regarding, training the future biotics in the John Grissom Academy.
Alternating between large oceans and land masses covered in flora, the Solarian homeworld Surkesh is known for its humid climate and lush vegetation. As with the rainforests that once covered Earth, the planet's many forests enjoy a rich biodiversity. The Solarian desire for intellectual stimulation drove them long ago to explore every aspect of their environment, developing ways to thrive without consequences detrimental to their habitat. The areas near major cities and industrial centers are meticulously maintained, with an eye towards ensuring that sunlight penetrates to the ground level, and that established paths through the jungle are kept clear for travel. Burngrass, a soil-enriching and adaptable weed native to Surkesh, has become a major export because of its value for terraforming.
Very interesting, very informative. Kind of wished we could see more of Sarkesh. Don't get me wrong, the mission was absolutely awesome, also producing both Solarian and Krogan lore, but I would want to see more of just like the capital, right? Them talking about, the jungle environment and the ocean environment. How about a little bit more underwater, environments could be, thrown my way. As I was saying in the previous episode, or like 2 episodes ago, we've just started another blind playthrough on the channel from BioShock, and apparently that game takes, place in an underwater city. So I'm just, now dying to see similar environments in other games, and I would love to see Mass Effect's take on that. Also, aren't oh no! I was misremembering. I was about to say, why are we did not see any, Hanar on this homeworld, even though they are an integral part of it. I was totally misremembering. It's like the Drell sitting on like the Hanar homeworld, and the Hanar homeworld is also biotic.
Tuchanka, the Krogan homeworld, boasts extreme temperatures, virulent diseases, and predatory fauna.
Perfect place to live.
Around 1900 BCE, the Krogan discovered atomic weapons and promptly sent their planet into a nuclear winter.
They would.
The majority of the population retreated to underground bunkers, and Krogan culture slipped into a dark age, dominated by tribal clans. In 80 CE, decades into the Rachni Wars, the Solarian Union made first contact with the primitive Krogan, and initiated a cultural uplift to shape them into a modern army capable of confronting the Rachni. During this uplift, the Solarians constructed the Shroud facility on Tuchanka to shield the planet from harmful forms of solar radiation. Later, during the Krogan rebellions, reproductive rates were curtailed by the genophage, ensuring the Krogan remained a species in decline and Tuchanka a desolate wasteland.
So much cool stuff being thrown our way. It's so crazy that 2,000 years almost prior to the Rachni Wars, they developed atomic weaponry, yet outside of that, they did not progress whatsoever further. I guess maybe this is like this time period is like the peak of Krogan civilization, and then when their planet went to shit, there was no further development, only, infighting. Would love to see, a snippet of that time period. And going back to Surkesh, I absolutely wanted for Surkesh to be what Tuchanka was in Mass Effect 2, just a place where you can, dock, get lore quests, and, run around. It's obviously was lovely to visit the Solarian home world, but it was during like an action-packed mission, right? We didn't know it would be that when we were landing, but it was, right? So limited to just a smaller area and then jumping straight into action. I just wanted to, run around and talk a little bit more. Technology, okay, alright, technology.
Biotics is the ability of rare individuals to manipulate...
Oh, the Crucible, the big thing.
Fields. The Mars archives describe a superweapon that the Alliance has named the Crucible.
Tell me more.
Exploits the technology of Mass Effect relays. Beyond the basic principles, however, researchers know little about how the weapon actually works.
Okay.
One popular theory suggests that since relays can transfer matter and energy across the galaxy with little regard for distance, it may be possible to create a weapon for which range is barely a factor. Duplicating the advanced science used to build the relays has proven difficult, however. If the Crucible were completed, the challenge would become tuning the weapon to kill a Reaper halfway across the galaxy without inflicting unthinkable levels of collateral damage. What is clear is that the Crucible's construction is a massive effort, drawing resources from throughout explored space. Staggering financial costs have been disregarded in the common effort to create something, anything, that can stop the Reapers.
Very interesting. So the thing about the Crucible is sending a big rock, like a trebuchet, across the galaxy into like the Reapers. That's like the thing. It's range, right? Yeah. What type of ammunition will that weapon use? I have no idea. And also, kind of the Reapers are all around. There isn't necessarily like a... there isn't necessarily like a trench, right? A line where two armies are fighting. Pushing that line forward or backwards, advancing or retreating, right? It's not necessarily like we can fling the big rock into like the Reaper forces. It's like these Reapers are descending onto planets, and then harvesting them. So you cannot like explode the Reapers exclusively on the planet because, you would blow up the planet alongside them. That may be like a plot point later down the line, but who knows? Right? Dealing with, the Earth is still fighting, but, we ought to exterminate the Reapers. Their command actually is on Earth right now. And it's like, no, but it will be, sacrificing the planet itself. The peak of, humanity's advancements and such. And it's like this big thing. And obviously, Shepard is pushing like the big red button, similarly to how, it was in the Arrival DLC and killing all of that Batarian civilians.
The Genophage
Maybe.
bioweapon was created to end the Krogan rebellions. The Turians fought the Krogan to a standstill, but the sheer weight of Krogan numbers indicated they could not be stopped through conventional means. The Turians collaborated with the Solarians to engineer a genetic counter to the Krogan's rapid breeding. The genophage virus replicated by eating key genetic sequences, altering every cell of Krogan physiology, so the Krogan could not use gene therapy to fix the affected tissues.
Smart stuff.
Once the genophage strain could replicate no more, it would starve and die, limiting mutation and contamination. In addition, the created genetic flaw is hereditary.
Perfect weapon.
The resulting mutation made only 1 in 1,000 Krogan pregnancies carry to term, reducing offspring viability rather than fertility. Krogan warlords fought battles over the females able to carry children to term. The release of the genophage is still controversial and bitterly debated in many circles.
Well, what can I say? It's absolutely lovely what the game does recently for the Krogan, and it has already started in Mass Effect 2 and, modern stuff. But now that the genophage and dealing with it is such a pivotal plot point in the game, I'm absolutely loving it. It's like in real time you see the social developments of like the Krogan, right? The Krogan are getting like a character development in the games, which is kind of crazy for like a nation or race as a whole.
It may be possible to reverse the genophage by extracting an immunity from the genetic data of a cured Krogan female. A Solarian geneticist named Malin, a former student of Dr. Morden Solus, discovered the cure through unethical experimentation on live subjects.
Yup.
The complexity and durability of the genophage derives from biochemical countermeasures that the Solarians wove into the plague in an attempt to make the sterilization incurable. No one is certain of how Malin circumvented the countermeasures, but his work was complete enough to allow replication of his results. In its original form, the cure restored fertility but severely compromised the immune system. This resulted in slow, painful death for all but one of Malin's test subjects. If the beneficial aspects of the cure can be isolated, a specially tailored virus could repair the affected genes in other Krogan.
It's actually crazy. If I'm understanding what they were putting down previously, it's like they want to, use that. What the hell was its name? What the hell was this name? This big chimney onto Chanka in order to spread the cure for every Krogan on the planet, and thus genetically modifying, them all. What about the Krogan not on like the planet at the given time? Are most like Krogan? I mean, I know obviously of like the tribal nature of the Krogan, but they are also like mercenaries and, almost bandits or pirates to a certain extent out there in the galaxy. I can only assume that a hefty number or a hefty percentage of the Krogan are not currently on Tuchanka when we'll be, doing the spreading of the cure. Okay, the Reapers, lovely, lovely.
The Reaper called Harbinger is believed to be the oldest and largest in the Reaper Armada. From the reaches of dark space, Harbinger managed to control the Collectors, a race of human-sized insectoid bipeds, as it sent them on
really interesting. I did not catch that previously. The Harbinger is like the oldest and the largest. Oh, okay, interesting. But we are not, here to listen about the Harbinger once again.
The Brute is a hulking amalgamation of Turian and Krogan victims of the Reapers.
Oh.
Because tissue from dextroprotein species like the Turians is incompatible with levoprotein species like the Krogan, implants regulate the Brute's body chemistry to combat organ rejection. It is the fusion of Turian military skill and Krogan blood rage that makes the Brute such a formidable enemy, capable of destroying armored vehicles to get to the soldiers inside. Troops are advised to keep their distance and, whenever possible, not engage a Brute alone.
That's a little bit, fucked up. I was thinking about, thinking about this because it clearly has like a Turian head on it, but it clearly also differs, right? The cannibals and marauders, they are, kind of one-to-one twisted Turians and twisted Batarians, but this thing, amalgamation of victims, plural. So very interesting. Not much Krogan in it, to be fair, visually. Now, I hope we, don't pass on the opportunity to also have like a twisted version of the Krogan. This is like a twisted version of like the two races. But however, don't do the Krogan dirty, guys. Just introduce another variation in like the enemy forces. I will not say no to that.
Marauders are harvested Turians that command and protect other Reaper troops. The lean, armored creatures present a significant threat in and of themselves, but they are especially dangerous when leading a Reaper task force.
Alright.
Alliance Marines have observed Marauders fortifying husks and cannibals by enveloping them in a ribbon of energy that forms a scabby shell of armor. For this reason, when Alliance soldiers encounter a Marauder alongside husks or cannibals, standing orders are to target the Marauder first.
Okay. Interesting, interesting. So even like the twisted versions of like the Turians are like the most formidable opponents in like the Reaper forces, huh? You never get too many chances to catch them up close, you know, the enemy forces. This particular Marauder is like wielding something, looking like just a gun, right? I mean, if they are twisted, they sure would still be using our technology. But it's just, like, interesting in general because, like, the Reapers are, you know, machines. But with consciousness also. So they have, you know, guns kind of built into them. The Marauders, not really.
Ravagers are former Rachni that the Reapers have transformed into heavy artillery through a process of implantation and genetic modification.
Deadly shit.
As walking organic turrets, they can sustain and inflict considerable damage. Ravagers bear egg sacs that continuously spawn swarmers. If the sacs are destroyed either during combat or upon the Ravager's death, their entire contents burst forth to charge the enemy and explode on contact.
Yup.
A dead Ravager expels a caustic gas and an acidic puddle. Alliance scientists have theorized that it is easiest for the Reapers to maintain control over units of Rachni genetic extraction because of the species' neurological predisposition for hive mind consensus.
Okay. Get a tiny bit of an explanation. The Alliance scientists are already figuring it out, even though in-game it happened just a moment ago. Let's overlook that. This is not good. This is not good whatsoever, looking for, like, the Rachni. You know? Maybe in the Rachni wars, like, the council races should just, like, elected, like, a big satellite dish. Similar to that one in, like, the Overlord DLC in Mass Effect 2. And just, like, send conflicting information into, like, the Rachni brains. that could have worked, maybe. Instead of, you know, going through all of, like, the hassle of uplifting, like, the Krogan. That must have been, like, a pricey endeavor. And yeah, those swarmers do indeed latch onto, you know, the player. And party members alike, I did get, like, a comment about that, explaining it. Thank you very much, as always, for, like, the comments. Weapons, armor, and equipment. Maybe, just maybe something about the weapon I've equipped in the very last episode?
The Reaper weapon, nicknamed Blackstar, is so advanced
No.
that Alliance scientists can only offer speculation about how it works. The gun appears to exploit an Element Zero core and mass effect fields to fire gravitational singularities, micro black holes, that revert to their natural lethality when they impact a solid object.
Okay.
Researchers theorize that the blast tears apart the strong nuclear forces that hold the target's atoms together, resulting in a localized fusion reaction in light atoms and a localized fission reaction in heavy atoms. If that hypothesis is correct, the weapon alters nuclei, thus changing the chemical composition of the target. This destroys organic tissue, corrodes surviving armor, and leaves a visible trail of light-emitting particles.
Sounds
Although some might argue
powerful.
that Blackstar's single-launch capability makes it a liability, its capacity for utter destruction is essential when the user requires large-scale, instantaneous damage.
What the fuck is this weapon? I don't remember using that much of the Blackstar. Was it during, like, the mission or on Palvan? I remember picking some gun off the ground. I certainly don't remember all of, like, the destructive capabilities it supposedly has. Well, apparently it does. For the secondary category, here we have a little bit more blinkage, as in 6 categories: aliens, non-council races. Who will be listed over here? The Yag, maybe? Okay. Never freaking mind. We be eating good today. It's Krogan ancient history and Krogan rebellions. Okay, I'm sitting the fuck up, baby. Something that I was asking for just now, the lack of adequately preserved archives presents a significant obstacle to research into ancient Krogan history. Nevertheless, recent archaeological discoveries have shed new light on the topic, revealing a society once rich with cultural, architectural, and artistic accomplishments. Really, who is doing like the digging? Who is doing the digging? The Krogan themselves, or are there some, human archaeologists on the planet? Newly discovered ruins reveal that the Krogan had particularly advanced understanding of structural and geotechnical engineering as compared to other cultures at similar stages of development. Really? Old Krogan architecture demonstrates seismic loading techniques that would have both resisted earthquakes and diffused the small-scale vibrations from vehicles in their sprawling cities. Curiously, however, Tuchanka has little natural tectonic activity. Instead, researchers believe the ancient Krogan were concerned with safe cohabitation with one of the planet's apex predators, Kalros, the mother of all thresher maws. Okay. A lot to take in, that's awesome. Kalros, the mother of all thresher maws, was not mentioned whatsoever. There was this one mission in Mass Effect 2 happening on some sort of a swamp or a mining site, and there were like the Krogan, and there was like this thing flying about, and we never actually got to face off with it, like truly, to take it down. But I don't think this is what they mean. If they created things that resisted earthquakes and small-scale vibrations, I can only assume that Kalros, similarly to other thresher maws, kind of inhabits the underground. That thing had like wings. Prior to the genophage, Krogan population growth was limited by predation, disease, and war. Even so, the birth rate exploded once the Krogan achieved industrialization, leading to wars over resources and living space. Other species on Tuchanka suffered greatly as the Krogan expanded. When the Krogan ran out of land, they settled into an arms race that ended in nuclear devastation. Tuchanka's relatively short golden age was at an end. Yeah, kind of the Krogan society seems like it mirrors our human IRL one just a tiny bit. Just hitting a little bit too close home for me. But this ancient history may yet aid the modern Krogan. Some of the techniques and technology discovered in the ruins could be used to improve standard colonization equipment, signaling economic renewal for the Krogan at last. It's kind of crazy how advanced they were in the Golden Age that now redigging what they already had at a race would be aiding them whatsoever. Kind of crazy. Awesome entry, baby. In the Krogan rebellions, after the Rachni War, the quick-breeding Krogan expanded at the expense of their neighbors. Warlords leveraged their veteran soldiers to seize living space while the Council races were still grateful. Over centuries, the Krogan conquered world after world, and there was always just one more needed. When the Council finally demanded withdrawal from the Asari colony of Luzia, Krogan overlord Kredak stormed off the citadel, daring the Council to take their words back. But the Council had taken precautions. The finest STG operators and Asari huntresses had been drafted into a covert observation force, the Office of Special Tactics and Reconnaissance. The Spectres opened the war with crippling strategic strikes. Krogan planets went dark as computer viruses flooded the extranet. That is so cool. Am I reading that correctly? The Spectres were... Or like came to be due to the Krogan rebellions. That's crazy. There's probably like a bit that I read previously was in awe of it, and now it's repeated and I forgot it, and I'm like, oh, that's so cool, man. Okay, so this is like the origin of the Spectres. Krogan planets were dark as computer viruses flooded the extranet, sabotaged antimatter refineries, disappeared in blue-white annihilation, headquarters stations shattered into orbit, clogging debris rammed by pre-placed suicide fighters. Okay, the Council was ready for smoke. Still, this only delayed the inevitable. The war would have been lost if not for first contact with the Turians, who responded to Krogan threats with a prompt declaration of war. Being on the far side of Krogan space from the Council, the Turians advanced rapidly into the lightly defended Krogan rear areas. The Krogan responded by dropping space stations and asteroids on Turian colonies. 3 worlds were rendered completely uninhabitable. This was precisely the wrong approach to take with the Turians. Each is first and foremost a public servant willing to risk his life to protect his comrades. Rather than increasing public war wariness, Krogan tactics stiffened Turian resolve. The arrival of Turian task forces saved many worlds from the warlords' marauding fleets, but it took development of the genophage bioweapon to end the war. There were decades of unrest afterwards. Rogue warlords and hold-out groups of insurgents refused to surrender or disappeared into the frontier systems to become pirates. Yeah, this is what I was saying. The Krogan almost like bandits and pirates in some spaces of like the Milky Way, right? A very enjoyable read. What can I say? Similarly to like the previous episodes, the Krogan lore is going hard. Okay, what is this? Mass Effect 3 From Ashes. Is that our boy Javik? Is that it? Plans and locations: Eden Prime. In 2151, as the first anxious settlers made their way through the new Charon mass relay, many of them wondered whether the reality of life on Eden Prime could possibly live up to the stories of pristine landscapes that drew them there. What the colonists found exceeded their expectations. The stable climate and compatible biology made the colony almost instantly viable. Over the next few decades, several million humans immigrated to Eden Prime, and a primarily agrarian culture developed. The new colony quickly became not only self-sufficient, but began exporting goods. Chief among these were rare planets, grown from Earth's many heritage seed libraries. But in 2183, the colonists faced a true test of their character. Eden Prime was attacked by the rogue Spectre Saren, Artius, and his Geth allies. Not long after, the Citadel was attacked by those same forces, and Eden Prime's neighboring world, Terra Nova, found itself threatened with complete destruction. That's not good on the human colonies. Faced with such violence, a lesser citizenry might have retreated back to the safety of Earth, as so many colonists of Terra Nova did. But Eden Prime's governing body refused to give in. Not only did the colonists vote overwhelmingly to block a measure calling for the building of evacuation ships, they voted to ease restrictions on immigrants from Terra Nova looking for a new home. As a result, Eden Prime's population has swelled. Whatever the war might bring, its status as symbol of humanity's future in the stars remain unblemished. Very interesting read. I thought it would be, you know, the pod. That's Eden Prime, right? The pod with Javik was found on Eden Prime, so I thought it would be like giving us a little bit of Prothean lore about Eden Prime prior to it being Eden Prime, but it wasn't that whatsoever. Prothean Beacon. In 2183, human scientists uncovered a Prothean technological artifact on the planet of Eden Prime. While repelling an attack by Saren Artius's Geth allies, Commander Shepard's squad came into the artifact's proximity and set it off. The object, described as a beacon, sent the commander jumbled sounds and images intended to warn of the imminent Reaper invasion. The beacon overloaded during the process and violently exploded. While the vision it provided was dismissed by the Citadel Council as a highly subjective experience, since that time the Council's Committee on Paleotechnology have analyzed the fragments of the beacon in an effort to understand how it communicated. Okay, wow, the Council actually doing something? What they found was not quite the telepathic technology that the Alliance Marines described in the reports. The beacon was equipped with a mass effect field generator to hold its subject immobile, a necessary step to minimize collateral damage during the rest of the process. Okay, upholding the individual in the air. The beacon then nearly instantaneously scanned the structure of its target's optic and auditory nerves, as well as many parts of the brain responsible for memory. Once its expert system determined the proportions of these key features, the beacon stimulated them with pinpoint electromagnetic and other irradiative energy, using powerful programs to recreate any images or sounds the beacon required. A mouthful of a sentence, okay. In principle, this was similar to the popular entertainment device known as a SimStim, but vastly more comprehensive. SimStims direct the senses, not memory. The Normandy's medical officer noted that the beacon delivered more information over the space of seconds than a SimStim could do in hours, and managed to do so to a species whose physiology was completely unknown to its designers. That's actually crazy. That's actually true and crazy. Saren also got some of that treatment. To Paleotech, the fact that Commander Shepard needed assistance to decipher the message is a minor footnote compared to the Prothean's accomplishments, getting any of the messages to Shepard at all. Now that makes me think, how much glazing there was in Mass Effect 1 about Shepard being able to withstand, the visions and be able to kind of decipher them to a certain extent. Some of that has to go also Saren's way. I don't know whether being indoctrinated by, the Sovereign helped him in withstanding that information, but he also was in contact with the beacons. Okay. Organizations. Will we learn something new about the Cerberus? Oh, about Cerberus forces, that is. With the Atlas, Cerberus research arm has combined the deadly armor and firepower of a Emir mech with the tactical superiority of a trained human pilot. This is actually true! The Emir mechs from Mass Effect 2, I never made that connection that they look kind of, similar, but this new Cerberus tech is pilotable, right? An Element Zero core allows the Atlas to be airdropped onto a battlefield with minimal impact damage. That was an awesome scene in the Sirkesh situation when they fucking dropped that big boy onto the battlefield. Its thick armor includes a robust, transparent canopy made from polycrystalline composite proprietary to Cerberus. Alliance engineers hypothesize that the material is some kind of synthetic sapphire composed with interlayers to resist cracking and thermal damage. Although the Atlas is somewhat unwieldy in the field, its anti-personnel machine guns and ability to shrug off damage from anything short of a heavy weapon makes it a fearsome opponent. Heavy loss of life is to be expected in any unprepared encounter with the unit. Okay, I'm loving this. One of the things that I praised Mass Effect 2 for was its variety of opponents. And absolutely, Mass Effect 3 is still very strong in this department. One may argue even stronger than Mass Effect 2, because now these different enemies kind of... Actually, maybe it is also like the bump in the difficulty that I made, but I really like the combat in Mass Effect 3. It is challenging, and it allows you to approach situations from many, different angles, and you kind of have to, because these different enemy types, they absolutely make you. The engineers, work absolutely differently with their turrets than, the grenades spamming fucks, and they also have those snipers in there, and also the mechs. It's just like the variety is awesome, and it forces you to really change up the strategy on the go. Cerberus combat engineers are specialized support units that assist primary forces while staying out of the line of fire. They wear lighter armor than the typical Cerberus combatant, using a modified mesh that allows greater mobility. Undercover and out of sight, engineers focus on setting up and maintaining turrets, as well as repairing mechanical units or armored allies. Okay, they can repair also. When confronted, they return fire only for as long as it takes them to find cover again and let frontline combat personnel take over. Certainly, Cerberus has like the best fucking army there is. They really do work well together and has all of like these different unit types, and yeah, very, very efficient. They are, kind of threatening the status of the Turian military, right? Although engineers are not particularly dangerous on their own, the Alliance specifically warns troops to remain alert for turrets which can mow down an entire squad while the engineer escapes. Yup. Happened a couple of times, I'm not gonna lie. And Nemesis. Yes, the sniper specialists. Customized implants allow the Nemesis to withstand the crippling kickback of the M98 Widow anti-material rifle, turning a redoubtable opponent into a force capable of inflicting instant death. A suit of high-tech scanning equipment makes the sniper adept at maintaining cover, meaning a Nemesis is usually spotted only after opening fire, assuming the target survives the first round. Because of self-destruct mechanisms, the activate upon the sniper's death. The Alliance has never retrieved an example of Nemesis augmentation technology. This fact, combined with Cerberus forces' penchant for suicide when faced with capture, has made scientific study of their implants impossible. Awesome bits of lore. Like, makes me think also where the hell they are, right? The mission on Eden Prime with Javik, and the Prothean flashbacks was like the only instance, I swear, where we saw Nemesis in action. And makes me also wonder, will the... Because they kind of operate very strangely and closely to, like, those Rachni forces, but, like, the Rachni ones are, you know, just artillery with missiles, and these guys have, like, sniper rifles, but they kind of operate in a similar manner, although the Nemesis tend to also, you know, take use of the cover. So I'm certainly waiting for the return of them, because it was actually fun fighting them. It also makes me think whether we'll be seeing, you know, the Rachni fight against us in the future. We have, like, the Queen and such, but it was mentioned that, you know, the Reapers, when they sniffed out what we were doing on, like, the planet with Grant, they kind of started dropping the forces. So, you know, they may still very well have an army of the Rachni that we will have to go up against. It wasn't like a one-time thing, but maybe we'll be able to, you know, send an army of Rachni against them. An army that we have and control. Okay. Mercenaries. Entries. Interesting. Maybe given to us due to missions we are doing for Arya. Founded by notorious Batarian slaver Solem Dal Serra, the Blue Suns began as a Skillian Verge protection racket providing genuine protection from slavers and pirates. Eventually captured by the system's alliance navy, Dal Serra beat almost 24 charges to be convicted on a single count of conspiracy. The slaver benefited from the tutelage of cellmate and brilliant con artist Bernard Ledger. Upon release 5 years later, Dal Serra incorporated Blue Suns as a legal security agency. Today, the Blue Suns boast a galaxy-wide force of Batarians, Turians, humans, and Krogan. Each deployment is backed by a logistics corps selling everything from heavy weapons to shaving cream. Despite claims that Blue Suns sells its captives as slaves, no Blue Suns employee has ever been convicted on such charges. Many Blue Suns members sport the company logo in tattoo form, removed during assignments and reapplied at mission end. Very interesting. I remember reading lore on, like, the Blue Suns and so on and so forth in Mass Effect 2. I believe this time is a little bit more detailed, though. The Eclipse. Yes, another one of those. Brainchild of Asari Commando Jonah Sidarius, Eclipse was incorporated as proactive security company. Influenced by Asari and Salarian military doctrine, Eclipse specializes in sabotage, assassination, and personnel and organizational security. Although Citadel governments regard the corporation with suspicion, it's embraced in the Skillian Verge and Terminus systems. Early on, Sidarius sought government contracts to establish market share against the better established Blue Suns. Her agency scored a galactic PR coup by retaking several space stations captured by the Anhur People's Liberation Army and neutralizing its leaders. A victory Eclipse's marketing department never ceases trumpeting. Based on Omega Station, Eclipse controls nearly 20% of the asteroid's real estate. Its services ranges from mech repair to open warfare, although assassination is reserved for meeting wider, longer-term company goals, for instance, preemptive strikes against pirates rather than murdering spouses for insurance money. Despite numerous reports, Eclipse denies sabotaging and kidnapping business rivals. Lovely. Where will we see the return of Zaid, the greatest mercenary known to mankind? We've already seen the return of Kasumi, another DLC character, so I can only hope that this guy makes an appearance rather quickly. Originally a small terminus system of Vorchagang, the Blood Pack was transformed into a legion by visionary Krogan Battle Master Gunnar Rang, exiled for striking a female in anger. Rang obsessed over reclaiming his lost status. Leading the Vorcha packs as a pirate crew, Rang cultivated recruits and infamy for a decade before incorporating his fighters as a security company across the Skyllian Verge. His notoriety ensured his initial public offering for investors made him rich beyond most Krogan dreams. Rang returned triumphantly to his clan, rallying elders, Krogan hordes, and their firepower and biotic support towards professional violence in the Terminus systems. Professional violence. Neatly put. Banned from Citadel space, the Bloodpack bribes its way through spaceports into armed conflicts across the galaxy. Priding themselves for accepting otherwise untouchable contracts, the Bloodpack rejects bodyguarding and security in favor of cases requiring minimal oversight and maximal violence. Lovely. What can I say? Reading about like the mercenary groups certainly makes me think back to my criticisms towards Mass Effect 2 and I guess 1 about like the main conflict not occupying that big of screen time, right? Most of the time in Mass Effect 1 it was the Geth fucking around and finding out, and we're not facing Saren that often. Similarly, in Mass Effect 2, collectors were very sparsely peppered around like the story, and most of the time we're fighting like mercenaries. In this particular game, it's all about like the Reaper conflict and like the Cerberus conflict. So yeah, I'm certainly liking the approach of this game to all of that. That being said, I am absolutely in for more mercenary murdering, you know, the side quests here and there. Planets and locations, alright. Benning, a very important place apparently. Benning was once a thriving human colony, but the Reapers have rounded up a large portion of the populace for processing. Yes, certainly. I am still mad that Benning was just limited to that one mission. And I also got a lovely comment that this was like a repurposed, in a way, multiplayer map. Similarly to the very first N7 mission that we were doing in this playthrough of Mass Effect 3. So yeah, very, very nice looking. Would like to spend just more time on the planet. Also makes me think whether it's like, you know, was the origin, like, is it a repurposed multiplayer mission that just got plugged into this N7 mission, or was it like an N7 map created for like the purpose of like the N7 mission and then also used in the multiplayer? I do wonder. Some pockets of civilian resistance still elude the Reapers, however, and rescue attempts are underway. A resistance radio established during the early days of the attack continues to broadcast, exhorting survivors to band together and discussing rumors of safe havens. Unfortunately, those rumors have begun to result in ambushes, increasing the desperation of those who remain free. Through all this, Benning's automated agricultural system have continued to operate, leading to unprecedented stores of food in the planet's granaries and warehouses. It's kind of crazy because, like, the section of Benning where we landed was very much urban. It was like an urban hellscape, to be fair. Did not make you think of, you know, producing food and such. But maybe also like the time of the day with like there being like the constant golden hour and like golden skies kind of on the orange side, and also can, you know, symbolize the war going there with like the Reapers. Possibly. Okay, technology, we are getting there, we are efficient today. And here it is, the big chimney I was talking about, and I was completely missing like the term. But here it is, the Shroud. What the Krogan call the Shroud is a technological remnant of the Solarian Uplift. It's also kind of crazy that after the Rachni Wars and like the Krogan Wars, this thing is still operational, and like the Krogan kind of accept it on their planet. After Tuchanka's nuclear war released tons of smoke and dust into the atmosphere, the planet temporarily cooled from global dimming, except at the poles where the albedo was lowered by soot. As clouds trapped the resulting heat, enormous swaths of permafrost melted, resulting methane captured in clathrate from previous millennia. Okay, big boy terms over here. This potent greenhouse gas created a runaway heat cycle that was called the nuclear summer. Without intervention, Tuchanka would have sunk into a slow but certain mass extinction. The Solarian solution was to assemble the Shroud, a permanent sun shield of trillions of tiny diffractory lenses placed at the L1 lag range point, the point in space where the lenses' naturally stable orbit would shade the planet. Very interesting. So this is like the only thing keeping Tuchanka together. For whatever reason, I would think that, the Krogan, in their mighty intelligence, would like, bomb this shit out of spite for like their own race and like the council races. It is a marvel that this thing still stands and there wasn't like a warlord insane enough to destroy it. The Solarians settled on a delivery method that became known as the Shroud Towers. Okay, multiple ones? The towers were essentially enormous coil guns that could fire a payload of lenses into space along with the equipment necessary to monitor the payload's trajectories. Many Krogan warlords enthusiastically approved of the plan, some because they believed in saving their home world, but most because they saw future military applications for the Shroud Towers. The Shroud was completed on schedule over the next few decades, by which time the Rachni held the warlords' full attention. The Krogan rebellions were not kind to the Shroud Towers. Okay, all but one was destroyed during the push for Krogan demilitarization. The remaining tower, often referred to as the Shroud, even though that is technically incorrect, was repurposed for cloud seeding and atmospheric repair. It remains on the landscape as an anachronism, a symbol of a time when Krogan and Solarians helped themselves by aiding one another. Okay, so it was repurposed, not really serving the same. The same use it used to. Very interesting. The very last one. Well, we are lucky that there's one remaining. And the very last one, the Reaper War. The Fall of Earth, the Fall of Kar-Shan, the Battle of Palavan. Okay. Neatly, updating us along the way as the plot of Mass Effect 3 progresses forward. When Tatris fell, the Turians knew little about the Reapers except that they wanted to enrage the Turians. Staying calm, the Turians massed in force around Palavan, their home world. Fleet Admiral Irix Coronati, in what became known as the 15-minute plan, stationed only 2 carriers, Undaunted and Resolute, near the system's relay. When the Reaper fleet emerged, the carriers launched swarms of unmanned fighters and spy drones. These were quickly destroyed, but the drones transmitted vital data on the Reaper's effective range, fleet composition, and exact location. The Turians' other ships then deployed to defend the system in earnest. God damn, should have fucking nuked it the moment they appeared, right? Knowing that the Reaper's weapons had a longer effective range than any of his own, Coronati made a short, daring, faster-than-light jump, landing his dreadnoughts in the middle of the Reaper fleet. The dreadnoughts then turned to line up their main guns on the Reapers, which also needed to turn to fire on the humans. On the Turians. This ploy used the Reaper's size against them because they could turn faster. The Turian dreadnoughts locked target first, and their concentrated firepower downed several Reaper capital ships. Okay? What the fuck? Turians? Swooping in? And being so effective? While we humans cannot fucking take one big ship down on screen. 0 confirmed kills, by the way. Earth is somehow still fucking standing, by the way. The Reapers countered instantly. Their destroyed performed a jump of their own to the skies above Palaven, beginning orbital strikes on Turian cities. The Turians, forced to defend the planet, found themselves in a pitched battle far from the relay, from which emerged a seemingly endless line of Reaper ships. Well, that's unfortunate. After massive casualties, Coronati ordered retreat. The Turians insist that Palaven is not lost. The battle has merely moved to the ground. That doesn't sound good. When someone can fucking bomb you from orbit, it's all but over, my man. Reaper troop transports have dumped hordes of husks to capture Palaven's inhabitants, but met with little success. Reaper capital ships are destroying city after city, but much of the Turian fleet is still operable, and the citizenry is heavily armed. The Turians refuse to be intimidated. That's kind of crazy. I guess the only thing, like, keeping us together is the fact that these fucking Reapers want to harvest all life in, like, the universe, right? This is, like, the only aspect of this that is going the way of the living. Because if it wasn't be the case, right, Palaven would be in pieces at this point, I can only assume. Moving to the war assets, the war table, and boy oh boy do we have a lot of blinking categories. Originally we only had like the Alliance tab, and it is still strong, the strongest in points. But the other categories are certainly not disappointing. Okay. 1,808. So we are kind of halfway there regarding the minimum. I can only assume that this is a sort of a thing similarly to Mass Effect 2's very last mission, right? Where if you're doing just like the bare fucking minimum, you will lose everyone and possibly even your own life in the process. Or even Galaxy as a whole, you know, Mass Effect 3 bad ending or something along the lines. So we certainly want to fill up this bar as much as possible. Category Alien. Alien races that were content to stay on the fringes of galactic politics are now stepping up to provide whatever is needed to win this war. Okay, what do we have over here? The Terminus fleet. It's an assortment of mercenary vessels and pirate ships bound together by little more than common geography and a fear of the Reapers. Despite the volatile mix, the fleet seems to be functioning as one under the leadership of criminal warlord Arya Tlok. Oh. Okay. Lovely, lovely. These are the missions that we were doing for Arya. The Bloodpack's mercenaries have been compared to floods, wildfires, and other calamities. It recruits Krogan and Dvorcha, preferably those with no regard for collateral damage. On the rare occasion when brute force is insufficient, the Bloodpack is willing to deploy weapons of mass destruction, normally banned in Citadel space. I mean, everything goes against the Reapers. The private security group is careful to maintain its image as a professional mercenary force. In reality, the Blue Sands have drifted further and further into becoming a full-blown crime syndicate. Despite this, their ruthless tactics are sought after in the Terminus systems. And the very last one, the Eclipse Corporation specializes in smart security solutions, developing tactics around surgical strikes, sabotage, and electronic warfare. These mercenaries are supported by a sizable army of combat mechs and rely heavily on tech for support in combat. Okay. So all of like the ARIA stuff got lumped together for 200. The Rachni workers are also here. Let's freaking go. Some miners. Not at all mindless insects, the Rachni are capable of feat of engineering compared with any sentient species. Okay. Why don't they fucking wear clothes then? While initially greeted with suspicion, the Rachni workers dispatched to the Crucible have integrated into the project smoothly. I can only fucking imagine, like, the team meetings. Okay, yes. They work especially well on tasks that benefit from group work, and senior Crucible staff members are learning to trust the Rachni with more complex problems. Goddamn. Like, nebulous as fuck, because if you think about it, it's like, okay, well, what the hell are you doing, Mr. Ant people? What are you doing on like the project? I guess like moving stuff around, carrying stuff around. Do they have like cute screwdrivers? I mean, with so many tentacles, feelers, or whatever the fuck they have, they could be holding like a lot of tools at the same time, right? Crazy. Hilarious. Alliance now. The 103rd Marine Division. Could have sworn we've already read that. Yep. Every Marine is a rifleman. I remember reading that, but we have an update. Nicknamed the Bridge Burners, Team Zeta are combat engineers who specialize in destroying enemy fortifications in a hostile territory. This tight-knit group of men and women are respected for their knowledge, renowned for their tenacity, and infamous for their enthusiasm. The Bridge Burners, Team Zeta, who? I might be not knowing where this update is coming from whatsoever. The First Fleet were also familiar. The SSV Agincourt was one of many Alliance ships that served the colony word Elysium from pirates and slavers during the Skillian Blitz in 2167. In order to stay with his vessel and crew, its captain refused promotion after the Blitz. This fleet lost a third of its vessels, protecting the council. Yes. So this is like the new update. Okay, and it is providing more points than Third Fleet right there at 65. So I can only assume this update provided us with 15 points or something. Also don't know how I got that one. Arcturus 1st Division. Okay, this is a new one. Is a volunteer army of civilians, paramilitary forces, and reserve soldiers who have banded together to stop the Reaper occupation on the planet Benning. To avoid detection by Reaper forces, its members operate in cells, never staying in one piece long. One place long. Excuse me. Foreshadowing over there. A handful of Alliance officers are coordinating the 1st Division, sharing intel and sending supplies to the resistance soldiers. A few Alliance squadrons have been spared to support Benning's makeshift army with trained soldiers. I do wonder whether that mission on Benning unlocked this one. Alliance Spec Ops Team Delta. Half of Team Delta's officers have an N5 designation with a few N6 soldiers in their ranks. They specialize in conflicts outside Citadel space. Delta is known for strict admission standards, professionalism on high-stakes missions, and the Alliance's loudest parties. When asked how senior staff looks at their off-duty rowdiness, Captain Matthew Brown was quoted saying, "After the shit we went through in the Terminus systems, they are just happy we are not burning down the base." Similarly, so elusive where this update and new asset came from. If you don't check it instantly when it appears on your screen, you might be missing stuff later on. Alliance cruiser Shanghai. The Shanghai's most important part in the Reaper War to date was the evacuation of the colony Akbar. Alliance intel reported Reaper forces headed toward Akbar, but as a cruiser, the Shanghai was unable to land on the medium-gravity world. The Shanghai's captain quickly dispatched all its shuttles to help transport hundreds of colonists onto the ship. Making over 41 shuttle runs in a single hour, the Shanghai managed to evacuate the entire remaining population. Where Reaper forces arrived, Akbar's capital city was as empty as it had never been inhabited at all. Okay. The Alliance doing things occasionally on their own without my involvement. It's nice to see. The Crucible, still not producing too many points. But the Krogan. The Krogan clans have agreed to throw their considerable might against the Reapers. Their shock troops are aggressive, relentless, and recklessly brave. Actually, don't remember... What do we have over here? Okay, research data. In the Crucible... Okay, the things we've collected along the way. Okay, now I remember. Okay, Grunt. Grunt, the only Krogan asset that we have. The perfect Krogan was thrown into the world without a past, a name, or a cause. After destroying the Collectors with Commander Shepard, Grunt returned to Tuchanka to learn what it means to be Krogan. After countless arguments and brawls, the clans have granted Grunt a modicum of acceptance. Modicum. Tough, wary, and cunning, the young Krogan knows his experience will pay off now that it's time to fight the Reaper forces. Let's go. Let's go, Grunt. I wish to see more of you. He came so battered in that scene with, like, the Rachni. I was so surprised to not see him on board of Normandy with more than, you know, healing his wounds or something. Or maybe Chok was doing so also something alongside. The Solarians bring cutting-edge warships and their best tactical minds to the fight against the Reapers. It's giving us even less than Grunt for 20. What, Morden is ranked lower than Grunt points-wise? Points-wise, that's insane. I refuse to believe it. This guy is so useful. He's like the MVP of the second game also, with creating like the technology to counteract the swarm of the Collectors, right? Oh, it's Kirhei. Oh, okay. Major Kirhei made his mark leading the Solarian Special Task Group that helped Commander Shepard stop Saren and Vermeer. Lauded by his superiors for his decisive leadership under fire, Kirhei was promoted and decorated with the prestigious Star of Serkesh. Yup, it was a fucking heist what he did. You know, having 5 Solarians to his name and, you know, Ashley, he managed to get out of the situation, killing only Ashley in the process. Amazing! The Major continues to join missions with his men, believing that nothing substitutes for experience and that the best tactical strategies are planned on the battlefield. Okay, no mentions of like... No mentions of Morden? Apparently not. The game is very selective. I was thinking, oh yeah, the people that join your squad, they don't necessarily show up here. Only individuals such as... I don't know, Kasumi was over here previously, right? I could have sworn. Where is Kasumi? Not an ex-Cerberus, that's for sure. Not an alien, probably, right? Oh, yeah, Jack is here. Oh, Kasumi is here also, because she's like an engineer, helping out. Yeah, so I was thinking, okay, ex-squadmates that join up the cause will show up here, but Morden, for now, is not present. Curious. And the very last thing on our today's agenda is something that I mentioned previously. Certainly, these lovely interactions that we missed between Garrus and Rex. That's right, on Sirkesh, our team consisted of Liara and James, and I thought to myself, hey, why don't we check out some of these interactions that we missed along the way, as, you know, the writing in BioWare games is what we are here for. So, certainly the reunion between such two characters may produce some interesting content. The fact that I even found this video on YouTube, right, probably proves me wrong. So let's see.
These females are the best and probably last hope for my people.
We'll bring them back, Rex. Don't
Yep.
worry.
I appreciate that, Liara. I wouldn't want anyone else along for the ride.
I remember this. Oh! He's also here.
I suppose I can make room for you too, Garrus.
We'll bring them home, Rex. You've waited long enough for this day.
A lifetime. I appreciate the assist, Garrus.
Oh!
Figured you'd gone soft sitting on your throne. Forgot how to hold a gun.
Oh, that's very nice. Wow, okay. Liara is like being provided with nice words, you know, from Rex, but Garrus gets the handshake, similarly to, you know, the one that, you know, Shepard was receiving. Okay.
My people have spent too much time selling ourselves out as mercenaries. Now we can get back to doing what Krogan do best, saving everyone else from giant monsters.
Never going to let us forget about the Rachni Wars, are you?
The last time I was at the Citadel, I didn't see a Turian statue in your honor.
That is true.
Just wait till this war is over.
Who tipped you off about the females here?
Sorry, Shepard, but they're listening to every word we say. I prefer my Solarian liver served raw.
I hear Vorcha prefer it grilled.
Back on the Normandy, you said Reapers were sighted on Tuchanka.
Clans Jorgal and Ravenor sighted a few landing parties. The Reapers are up to something. Tuchanka may be a pile of radioactive rubble, but it's our pile. And we'll fight to the last Krogan to keep it that way.
Radioactive?
Garrus. I have to make friends with the one Turian in the galaxy who thinks he's funny.
Imagine how I feel. I'm supposed to hate Krogan, but you came along and warmed my heart with your winning personality.
I could throw a few Solarians off a cliff, if it'll make you feel better.
That's very nice. That's very nice.
Good times.
Right. The best.
Wow, very kind of surprising. Was not expecting this bromance being there to this particular degree. Kind of makes me wonder what, you know, other lovely interactions we missed between Garrus and, you know, Rex along the way. It's like, regarding the playthrough of Mass Effect games, I certainly am switching out people left, right, and center at all times. In almost every episode, I'm trying to take somebody else in order to get some content, you know, out of them. While in my, you know, Dragon Age playthroughs, I usually have my, you know, preferred party that I stick to. You know, so I'm usually getting very much in-depth number of interactions regarding like for given individuals. But in these ones, we might have, you know, just missed so much lovely stuff. There are just so many combinations of characters and missions that you can go on. Thinking about it a little bit more, you know, we certainly are missing certain things because there may be some lovely interactions. In the very first game, for example, we're rather limited with the number of squad mates, right? And usually I would not pick in the entire playthrough, kind of characters serving similar roles. For example, 2 engineers or 2 biotics. I was trying to, you know, equalize my squad a little bit and make us be able to respond to every threat that the enemies would be throwing my way, right? So and in the very first game, with Garrus and Rex, both of them served this, you know, tanky slash big gun type of character. So I certainly did not take them usually together, if my memory serves me right. Yeah, but I guess that's going to be it for today. Thank you guys very much for watching. Like, comment, and subscribe, but do it only if you guys feel like it. It's always greatly appreciated, though, when you guys do, because it helps the channel a great deal. And considering, you know, the channel, also check it out. There may be some other blind playthroughs in there that may pique your interest. For the very last time, thank you guys very much for watching. See you in the very next one, and bye-bye. Stay safe out there, you beautiful people. Bye-bye!